The reason why I'm not talking about Project 2025 as much as you guys want me to talk about it is because I talk about it every day. Every aspect of your life that is degenerated, every part of the federal government that has lost its teeth, like the legislative body being completely removed from the equation, is Project 2025. All that happened before 2025, though.
Mr. Shapiro, Project 2025, it's one of the most Googled search terms right now. You're not going to get any censorship from me. So I just wanted to know, from your perspective, I think it would help us understand on just like a scale of 0 to 100%, how much do you support Project 2025?
I think, like President Trump, I haven't looked all that deeply at Project 2025, but it seems that Democrats on this committee, sort of like Peter Pan and Tinkerbell, if they say Project 2025 enough, their presidential candidate becomes alive again.
And so, well, let's just talk about pieces of it, and I guess you can tell me if you support it. You probably want less bureaucracy, right?
I do.
I want less bureaucracy. You want more efficiency?
I do.
I want more efficiency. You want taxpayer money spent wisely?
I do. Congrats on becoming a Republican.
Yeah. Yeah. My parents would be proud. Mass deportations, it calls for that. Do you support that part?
I support the deportation of any illegal immigrant who is in the United States who is not of benefit to the generalized American public.
How about banning the abortion pill? That's part of Project 2025. Do you support that part?
I think that that's a state-by-state issue on a personal level.
I'm just asking you.
Sure, I'm.
There's nothing funnier than Ben Shapiro being like, Heritage Foundation, I don't know what that is. It's like, bro, come on. Literally every talking point that you've ever delivered on your broadcast has been a verbatim Heritage Foundation talking point. It is pretty funny when he's like, I don't understand Project 2025. I don't know what it is. It's like, no, you love that shit. You're lying, and he's not even doing a very good job lying. He just like basically is trying to massage his way out of it. And the only reason why he's saying that is because he has to repeat whatever Trump says. And Trump recently said, Project 2025 is that shit. I don't know anything about that. Now, why did he say that? For two reasons. One, because it's nerd shit. And two, he knows how to read the room. Project 2025, which is very real. And it's not necessarily 2025. It's more so Project 2024, Project 2023, Project 2022, Project 2020, Project 2016. It has not, like this, what they are signaling at the Heritage Foundation is just the Republican project for the past 40 years. And it hasn't stopped. It's still happening. So all these people that are like, oh my God, what about Project 2025? Yeah, like, you know, it's not new. This doesn't mean that you shouldn't be afraid of it. Of course you should be. You should be afraid of the Republican Party in general. But make no mistake, the Democrats have to not just say that they're against it, but actually tell you exactly how they plan on fighting against it. Okay? Now, having said that, it has freaked a lot of people the fuck out. You can go through the agenda items line by line. Okay. The reality is this is just simply the Republican Party's project. It's its policy prescriptions. This is what they wanted to do for a very long time. And this is what they are going to do inevitably. But it has actually finally gotten the attention of many Americans, and they're afraid. They're afraid. And that's why Trump, being the room reader he is, for two reasons. One, because he wants to, appear more moderate. A lot of people forget that, like 2016, the reason why Donald Trump won is because he had a lot of reactionary takes, but ultimately he was able to present himself as a moderate on a lot of key issues, like better than the rest of the Republican Party on a lot of key issues. When it comes down to, Social Security, for example, things of that nature, running around with a pride flag, right? And since then, of course, in 2020, it was a very different situation. Why? Because in 2020, you saw 4 years of his actual administration and you recognize that wasn't moderate at all, right? So he lost to a cadaver. But 4 years have passed when that cadaver was in charge. People experienced almost 2 years of negative real wage growth. Prices are up for everything. Inflation is crazy due to corporate, infrastructure issues, due to logistic issues during COVID, but also beyond that, due to corporate greed across the board, okay? Greedflation, they're calling it. But it doesn't matter. To the average American, all they know is that their money is no longer as long as it once was. 4 years have passed. They forgot how insane Trump was. And all Trump needs to do now is basically not remind people of how insane he is. All he needs to do now is try to be as moderate as he possibly can. Appear as moderate as he possibly can. This is how Trump campaigned on big programs in 2015. Thank you, Central Committee.
Please don't say we're going to make it rich, Mr. Trump. It's Chris. I said, I have to say it. I have to be truthful. We're going to save Social Security. We're not going to cut Social Security. We're not going to cut Medicare. You know, Carson wants to cut Medicare. He wants to get rid of Medicare. I say, you know, it's actually a program that works great. Now, you have waste, fraud, abuse in Social Security and Medicare. We'll take care of that. We'll have proper, but you're not going to be cut. You've been paying into your plans. You've been paying into Social Security for years. Now they're coming up to you. It's getting to be that time where you're going to need it. And I think it's unfair. After all these years, they want to cut you. It's not fair. You've been paying in for years. We're going to take money back from all these countries that have been just absolutely eating our lunch. We're going to have so much money.
There you go. Like those are very important sentiments expressed by the person who then successfully became the president. Okay. Like you need to understand, he presented himself as a moderate on a lot of popular issues within the Republican base and maybe even changed the attitude, some for the worse, some for the better. When it comes to social spending, the Republicans were less upset about that sort of thing. It actually became like the deficit hawking kind of fell apart. You rarely ever talk about the deficit. You only talk about it under Democratic leadership usually. That's all the Republicans ever talk about. The deficit, the deficit, the deficit, the budget, blah, 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 right? Under Trump, that attitude shifted so much that Republicans don't even talk about it as much, even under the Democratic administrations. I'm telling you, I mean, this is like, I have no actual data to basically present to you on this. I have no like empirical evidence that I can point to on this issue. This is simply coming from my past 10 years of being a professional political commentator and like dealing with the deficit hawks when Obama was president, dealing with deficit hawks when Trump was president, and seeing the much more limited communication of deficit hawking under the Joe Biden administration. Donald Trump presented himself as a moderate in 2016. He could not do so in 2020. But he can kind of try to do to some success in 2024. And that's precisely what he's doing. I'm sure by now, some of you in the chat have seen the Republican agenda, okay, for 2024. Let's take a look. With just one mention of abortion, Republican Party has laid out its 2024 policy platform. Dedication to the forgotten men and women of America. Preamble, America first, a return to common sense, blah, blah, blah. Here are the items. Seal the border. Stop the migrant invasion, carry out the largest deportation operation in American history, which is, of course, incredibly radical. But unfortunately, 60% of the country is now on board with it. While simultaneously, they're also on board with giving amnesty. But that's besides the point. We're not going to talk about the confusion that Americans experience on a daily basis. It is a sea of contradictions. The American voter's mind is an enigma. And inflation. Make America affordable again. Make America the dominant energy producer in the world by far. Stop outsourcing and turn the United States into a manufacturing superpower. Large tax cuts for workers and no tax on tips. Defend our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, and our fundamental freedoms, including freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and the right to keep and bear arms. So the reason why they're saying defend our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, and our fundamental freedoms is because they're trying to be like, oh, we're not the anti-democracy candidates. We promise. Prevent World War III, restore peace in Europe and the Middle East, and build a great Iron Dome missile defense shield over our entire country, all made in America. End the weaponization of government against the American people. Stop the migrant crime epidemic. Demolish the foreign drug cartels. Crush gang violence. Lock up violent offenders. Rebuild our cities, including Washington, D.C., making them safe, clean, and beautiful again. Strengthen and modernize our military, making it, without question, the strongest and most powerful in the world. Keep the U.S. dollar as the world reserve currency. Fight for and protect Social Security and Medicare with no cuts, including no changes to the retirement age. Cancel the electric vehicle mandate and cut costly and burdensome regulations. Cut federal funding for any school pushing critical race theory, radical gender ideology, and other inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content in our children. Keep men out of women's sports. Bro, they put two like weird. They're still such weirdos, bro. This kind of stuff is just weirdo shit. And I think it's a mistake. Deport pro-Hamas radicals and make our college campuses safe and patriotic again. Secure our elections, including same-day voting, voter identification, paper ballots, and proof of citizenship. Unite our country by bringing it to new and record levels of success. And then it goes into it a little bit. But if you notice, like, obviously, by the way, America first, also deport anyone who's mean to Israel. America first, but deport anyone who's mean to Israel. Do you understand? If you hurt Israel's feelings, you will get deported. Anyway, more recently, Trump has made sure to try to distance himself from the controversial and lengthy Project 2025 policy document put together by some of his allies. Notably, the promises don't mention anything about abortion, as Trump attempts to de-emphasize the issue and appeal to swing voters. In the entire platform, the word appears just once in a statement about the party's dedication to protecting the issue of life. It reads, "We will oppose late-term abortion." After appointing the Supreme Court justice who helped overturn the constitutional right to abortion, he said the issue should now be up to the states. Other social issues appear more frequently, including promises related to limiting federal funding for schools, teaching so-called critical race theory, and keeping men out of women's sports. So overall, their policy platform is just like ridiculous nonsense, reads like a Trump rally, hyper-focusing on immigrant crime, Biden immigrant crime, and immigrant invasion, all this and then has a few choice ones on if you hurt the feelings of Israel, the beautiful nation state, we will deport you. But ultimately, you know, this is supposed to be, to our eyes, this obviously is radical nonsense, right? But to the average voter, when they look at this, it's just the Trump rally. Depending on how hard he hits the immigrant line, he might be able to, you know, gross out. He might be able to gross out the normie voters. But overall, he is distancing himself from Project 2025 because a lot of people see that. A lot of people on TikTok, a lot of people on Reddit lose their minds over Project 2025. And he doesn't want that stink on him. And plus, he thinks it's nerd too much reading, okay? The Project 2025 architects don't care that Trump is saying he doesn't support it in public. They know he's with them. They can always get it done under him. It's like Trump claiming he doesn't support J6 protesters and Charlottesville Nazis. Trump already did Project 2025. He literally did Project 2025, like, as far as crippling federal agencies, which is some of the more significant parts of this, by the way. Like, Project 2025 is just in writing what the actual Republican project has been, okay? It happened already, and it's going to continue happening. You need to understand this. It's not new. This is why I've been talking about, or rather, not necessarily talking a lot about Project 2025. The reason why I'm not talking about Project 2025 as much as what you guys would want me to talk, as much as you guys want me to talk about it, is because I talk about it every day. You're capping? No, dude, I'm not capping. Every aspect of your life that is degenerated, every part of the federal government that has lost its teeth, like the legislative body being completely removed from the equation, is Project 2025. All that shit happened before 2025, though. That's it. And I kept repeating this over and over again. I've been warning about the obstructionist Republican project of taking civil liberties, or rather a devolvement of civil liberties that were long hard fought for, and fighting for them at the state level, taking it up to a slammed Supreme Court of the United States of America, and giving massive dubs to the states under the auspices of states' rights, completely sidestepping like any kind of federal legislation or any kind of legislative agenda. That is Project 2025. Deregulation that has been happening for a very long time, but especially in overdrive since Ronald Reagan, is Project 2025. Some of the funnier points about Project 2025 is that they want to abolish the Department of Education, abolish the EPA, which they already did, basically with Chevron deference. We are already there. And what the Democrats are not doing against the Republican agenda right now is exactly what the Democrats will continue to not do in 2025.
Banning same-sex marriage. What about that part?
I am in favor of traditional marriage between a man and a woman, and I'm perfectly fine with anyone having any sort of voluntary sexual arrangement they seek. That's a different thing from whether the government should attach benefits to that personal relationship.
But you think it's a sin to have same-sex marriage?
I mean, I'm confused. Are you asking me as a religious Jew what I think about biblically?
I'm just asking, is it a sin to be gay?
Is it a sin to be gay? I mean, how long do we have here? 2 minutes? I mean, if the basic idea is that sexual orientation is up for government regulation, I'm not in favor of the government regulating the private consenting sexual activity of adults. That is a different thing, once again, from whether the government ought to engage in actual benefits for particular sexual arrangements that adults make.
But again, just you to me, is it a sin or not?
From a religious Jewish perspective, orientation is not a sin, but activity is. That's also the same perspective of most major religions, so far as I'm aware.
Okay. And how about...
Yeah, I mean, he does. He does think it's a sin. He says it all the time. His quote is right behind Eric Swalwell.
Cutting Social Security. Do you support that part of 2025?
I'm not sure what Project 2025's position on Social Security is. I'm in favor.
Yes, dude. Yes, he is. Everything he's saying here, that he's trying to dance around. He's trying to tap dance around this. But of course he's on board. He is a Heritage Foundation talking point machine. Perjury? No, it doesn't work that way, dude. Yeah, they're going to put him in contempt of Congress for lying about his positions. Oh no. Candace Owens was interviewed.
Favor of the restructuring of Social Security along the lines of privatization and lowering and increasing the retirement age, because you, as well as every other congressperson, knows Social Security is going to go bankrupt, and yet everyone seems to have an interest in lying about it for the next decade and a half until we have to take austerity measures or radically increase inflation or taxes.
And bans against books about slavery. Do you support that part about?
Why would I possibly be in favor of bans about books about slavery? That would be absolutely ridiculous. What I am in favor of is the idea that school libraries should be able to make decisions along the lines of what exactly is appropriate for, say, a 7th grader and whether they ought to be treated to cartoons and genderqueer. That's not quite the same thing.
And just because we found some receipts, you did say, I think homosexual activity is a sin.
Yes, I'm a religious Jew.
Sure,
that's true.
There's a genetic component.
You found me out.
Orientation. But the view of all religious people I know has always been that sexual behavior is something that is up to you. And you said, I may have a desire to sleep with many women, but I do not.
I agree with me. Yes, that's true.
Congratulations on your, I'm sure it's very hard to restrain yourself.
You should ask him if he's such a religious Jew, why does he care about abortion? Because there's no restrictions on abortion in terms of the ones that he especially espouses and advocates for under Judaism. As a matter of fact, there's a lack of restriction on abortion.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to shift to Alvin Bragg. He was supposed to speak, and he's not coming. And Hunter Biden was supposed to testify. Now he's not testifying. We were supposed to have votes on articles of impeachment, and we didn't. And again, we're just wondering, you guys write great press releases, but the payoff seems to never come. And so I guess we will keep waiting, and we'll do hearings like this. And finally, Chairman, you cannot yell fire in a crowded theater, but
God, Swalwell sucks so bad.